NFL did them a favor. They get Tennessee with a young quarterback, all new receivers, a new staff. So that's a really nice opener. They don't have to play the Packers until, I think, week 11. That's a bit of a break. But the thing you worry about, defensive coach, little bit on the hot seat, you go 1-3. What is the tarmac here? What's the runway for Eberflus? Is 2-3 in trouble? Can they sputter a little in the first 4 to 5 games, Danny?
They won't fire him that early. Ryan Poles went so hard, the Bears general manager, that Matt Eberflus was the guy. And that was my biggest and really only issue with how they handled the offseason. I felt like when you won the lottery in that Carolina Panthers trade to get the #1 overall pick and get Caleb Williams, you're hard-pressed to convince me that the best possible coach to develop this generational prospect is Matt Eberflus. I have a very hard time believing that. But the players like him, the defense improved. They improved when he became the defensive play caller. Pretty good culture guy. So I don't think that they would hit the eject button on him 5 or 6 games into the year when so many people were clamoring for it in the offseason. But a funny way to bet this actually would be, because he's a co-favorite with Jim Harbaugh right now for Coach of the Year. I could see Matt Eberflus winning Coach of the Year, and I could see him getting fired. Like, that's the range of outcomes. So what's the runway for Eberflus? Honestly, it is 1 year, because if they sputter, if they are a 7-win team this year like they were last year, Caleb's here. Keenan Allen might not be. It will be looked at as a huge disappointment this season. So they would make a change at coach well before they would make a change at quarterback again, obviously. So I think Matt Eberflus has 1 year to prove that he can be this guy before they would hire an offensive coach.
I thought it.
Okay, so this I find really interesting because, as I talked about in the previous video, I've noticed that the fans really love Eberflus, which is really interesting to me because when you have such a great quarterback like in Caleb Williams, I am always a fan of offensive head coaches. I'm just a fan of offensive head coaches in general, because when you are a defensive head coach, you are so reliant on your OC to run that offense, to call the plays, to create that identity. And in such an offensively driven NFL these days, that's the way it goes. And so if you're successful, right? Let's use the Houston Texans as a perfect example of this. They have their OC, CJ, and with CJ Stroud, they've had a lot of success. Their continued success, ultimately, that OC now is going to leave. He's going to get a head coaching job. That is a big deal. It's practically getting a brand new coach now for that offense. It's like just getting a new coach in general. And we've seen so many quarterbacks take steps back when that happens. So that, to me, is actually single-handedly the best benefit of having an offensive head coach, because you get the consistency with your offense, that it won't change. And now, as long as you have that head coach, as long as you think he's also good enough, you can trust your offense. You know that no matter what happens, he can figure it out and troubleshoot and continue to achieve great things if that's what he's already doing, like the Shanahans, the McVays, the Andy Reids. So you're less reliant on your coordinator. And now defensive coordinators, they don't get head coaching jobs as frequently, so they're not always leaving. But Ben Johnson, like any of these other OCs, as soon as an offense is legit, it's just like boom, they're getting head coaching job offers. And it just becomes very difficult. And again, it's not to say that you can't win without a defensive coach. It's just that the way how the NFL is run right now, it's just so offensively, it's such an offensive heavy driven league that's what you just want to make sure that you have worked out. That's what you want to make sure you have the consistency year to year with. And that's what you get with the head coach, as from being an offensive mind. But with all that said, the Chicago Bears and the Chicago Bears fans are super high on Eberflus, which I found personally very surprising. I did not realize that. I would have thought that they would have been very unhappy with Eberflus, but it seems like they think that Eberflus really held everything together, that he is great at building culture, that he's really turned this franchise around, and that he's been able to do a lot with a little. And so they think that he's going to have great success with Caleb Williams, and they're really excited. And like, again, I would have said, hey, go get Harbaugh, go get Ben Johnson, like go make some plays for these offensive guys. And yet, Eberflus is there. And I get that the players like him. I think you always got to be careful when players like someone, because players don't always know what's good for them, quite honestly. Players, like a lot of coaches who ended up not really being that good or capable, that just happens. I'm not saying that that's the case with Eberflus. I want to see Eberflus with Caleb Williams, with a legitimate staff and quarterback, and then you make the decisions, right? But I do think you give him this 1 year. But I think that's also a little tough too, because I think the Chicago Bears can really succeed and can really have ultra high levels of success. But it is unfortunate timing. If this is accurate, if what Danny Parkins is saying is accurate, where Eberflus really does only have this 1 year runway, it is a tough spot to coach in. It is a tough spot to coach in when you feel like you're coaching for your life. And you have a brand new rookie quarterback and a lot of new pieces. You want to be able to be comfortable taking chances. You want to be able to lower the temperature in the room, not elevate the temperature in a room. And I think when you have a coach, and understandably so, if you're coaching for your literal career and your ability to stay in the NFL and be able to coach this generational talent in Caleb Williams, you're going to have nerves. You're going to have issues. You're going to call plays differently. You're going to be either more likely or less likely to go for it. Like, it's going to change your decision making. When you are comfortable and confident where you are, that is when you get to make the best decisions. I understand this whole idea of like when you're on the line and you got to go for it, right? You're trying to pay for that. You play for that big contract. You can rise to the occasion. That can happen undeniably. But for the most part, you want the coaches, you want the players, you want everyone to feel comfortable, safe, and supported, because that's how you thrive. I mean, we just know this. We know this from past teams. We know this from just basic humanness, from just looking at how we raise children, right? We know that when you are extra hard and everyone has a fire lit underneath them, people just break, or you just don't get the best from them. And again, I'm not saying you're not going to get the best out of Eberflus, but it is unfortunate timing. Like, it would have been nice if Caleb got to Eberflus like a year ago or so, or 2 years ago. That way you have some of that runway. Because really the last thing you want to do is have Caleb come here. Then and Eberflus is saying all this stuff to him, right? And then Eberflus gets fired. And now you get another coach, and now the other coach has to come in and say, forget about what Eberflus was saying. That guy had no idea what he was talking about. This is the way how football works. This is the way how we run the NFL. This is how we do culture here, right? Then like, Caleb Williams is getting like whiplash. And he's just like, whoa, this is the opposite of what Eberflus was saying. It's just a different voice, different energy, different everything. And it matters. It really does. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks, no matter how great they are, you need that consistency. You need that level of confidence in your leader, in your coach. And now let's say the Bears are, 5-5, right? Not even particularly bad. They're playing pretty good, but they're 5-5. A lot of people maybe thought that they were going to be 8-2 or something. Now they're 5-5. Now the feeling is Eberflus is going to get fired. Now the media is all talking about Eberflus is probably going to get let go. There's whispers around that so-and-so is really unhappy with how Eberflus is handling this, and he will most likely be fired. Should Eberflus be fired by week 15, or should they just let him finish the season, right? It just changes everything. That's what everyone's talking about. And Caleb Williams hears that. Caleb Williams is going to hear all of that noise. And in fact, dumb media members are going to ask him, hey, Caleb, so do you have trust in Eberflus at this point? And it's like, bro, why are you asking him that question? And then now Caleb Williams is going to have to say, yeah, I really love Coach. He's such a great guy, and, he's the coach that I want to play for, and blah, 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 blah. And then let's say they fire him. Now they say, Caleb, how do you feel? You said you loved Eberflus and Coach, and that you were so excited to be with him, and now that he got fired, does that make you upset? I just trust the Chicago Bears and what they're doing, and it just forces everyone in this tough situation. So you want to be able to create the environment that you have consistency, that you get to have Caleb grow, make his mistakes, have his successes in a way where now you don't have to add all this extra stuff on it. Like, is Eberflus going to get fired? How do you feel if he gets fired? what type of coach do you want? Like, it just makes everything messier. So, yeah, I'm really fascinated to see how the Chicago Bears handle all of this. I think they will be successful. And so, of course, as long as they're successful, then Eberflus is totally all good to go. A lot of people thought that the coach from the Bengals was going to be fired, and then Joe Burrow had success, went to a Super Bowl, and then boom, he's the coach, and no one doubts that. So things can change very quickly. But what I'm learning is that the fans really like Eberflus. Dare I say, even say love Eberflus, but the media, not so much. So it's been a disconnect in terms of what have you been reporting and what I've been seeing. So, but those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys have to say. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Eberflus should have just a year, more than a year with Caleb? Do you think he should have even had the job at the beginning of the season? Or do you think they should have got someone else? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.